Hey, Shelly, we're going live any second now. Who do you want to do a shout out to?
Well, I'd love to shout out my amazing supportive community, but definitely my husband and my children take the cake. So, hey guys.
All right, community, husband, and children. Here we go. Hey guys, we're back with another amazing guest today. Shelly Snow Pordea is a novelist, screenwriter, and self-publishing coach who has a powerful life story. Shelly's first book, Tracing Time, is a beloved series that consistently ranks in the top 100 time travel romance books on Kindle. She's also a speaker and cult survivor who advocates for recovery. Shelly's personal story is currently being adopted into a series drama in collaboration with her brother and actor Jon Snow, who was on just a couple of weeks ago. And as a children's author, her book, The Hug Who Had No Arms, debuted as a #1 bestseller in several categories on Amazon. Shelly also published a journal and an online course, Creative Mindfulness, which highlights her daily practice of expanding her creative mindset. Her newest work, The Cheating Wife, focuses on women struggling with the after effects of toxic manipulation and control, drawing from her childhood in a cult and her long journey to break free. Hello, Shelly.
Hi, Michael. I'm happy to be here.
I could have just added in a few more things about you, but then I would have just been like reading for the whole show. And that's like, you do amazing stuff. That's what I just love. And we're going to talk about.
Thank you.
One of the things that we're going to talk basically about how you became so amazing in doing all the stuff that you do. But one of the things that people have to hear, first of all, is your experience in the cult and how it shaped your writing. Tell me just a little bit about that. Just a little bit about the cult. And let's talk about your writing.
Sure. Well, I was born and raised into it. And I think that I fell in love with reading as soon as I could read. It was, so this was also back in the day when we didn't have a lot of technology stuff that we have, but reading was the escape. And then I could write my own things. We learned that I could form my own sentences and write my stories. And I was very imaginative as a child. And it really did shape my imaginary world, I should say.
Yeah. So being in the cult shaped your writing for sure.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
Okay. Now, one of the things that we've talked about before, you and I personally have talked about, is how your writing is healing for you. So talk about that just for a second, how writing is healing for you.
I think that, especially in my personal practice, one of the biggest things for me is being able to understand and go through emotions. I tend to have a personality that stifles a lot. I'm a peacemaker. I don't want anybody to be upset. I don't want to talk about hard things. But what I've realized is that as, I matured, I could write things out and heal from that and be able to not stay in the discomfort. I would much rather face it head on. Even though I don't love conflict, I would face it head on and realize that I can go through it, and then I don't have to live in that constant state. So writing has been so therapeutic for me. In fact, my first novel was born out of the sudden loss of my dad, and I couldn't process emotions without diving into this imaginary story.
I gotcha. So your books, from my understanding, are somewhat autobiographical. Not necessarily that it covers your entire life, but there are people in your books, you, other people. Like, how do you pick who's going to be in your books?
Oh, well, yeah. They certainly have autobiographical aspects. I think it's Stephen King in his memoir who says every author's first book is, an autobiography. I don't know what that says about Stephen King, but but yeah, you infuse so much of yourself and your journey into your characters. And so many of my characters are handpicked from my life. And it's not necessarily that I choose like who's going to be in and who's going to be out. It's more of how the scenes start to evolve that I tap into the interactions I have or the personality traits that I have with friends or family members that mean a lot to me. And I, use them and what I think their reactions would be, how they speak, their dialogue, that really informs what I write. And it's funny because I recently did a book club who had chosen my first book. And so I went and I met them and we chatted about it. And one of the questions was from the lady was, why does Anna, the protagonist, like always say yes and not question? And I was like, oh, that's really interesting. It's probably because I grew up in a cult. You know, like she just like goes along with the authority and they say she should do this. And she's like, well, okay, you know, and it had a lot to do, I'm sure, with where I was at that time in my life and my perspective of, you know, reality and authority. And yeah, it's so I draw from everything, I think, in life, really.
Yeah. You know, I think one of the cool things about, you know, being the author is you get to make the characters do things, or maybe you don't. Maybe they do their own things, but like, especially if you brought in somebody that maybe you didn't have the best relationship with, and you can make them do things. Do you ever find that you have that ability, that authority to do that?
Well, sure. I mean, the characters do kind of take on a life of their own, but it's still my imagination. So I'm not
Mhm.
really sure how it works. I feel a mystical connection to it. But at the same time, I have had difficult situations. Like I used to work in the education system. And so I had a staff and I had to actually fire a difficult employee at one time. And so when I was creating one character particularly harsh, and I just tapped into that experience that I had with that person. And it served me well because I think that she was a very good, complicated character. And yeah, I'll use those experiences to write, you know, difficult situations, because at the end of the day, even fiction is really about personal relationships, right?
Mhm.
So you just paint a story about life and you write what you know, as they say.
Yeah. Have you ever like written a character, somebody reads and goes like, "Oh, I think that's me," and then they read it and they go like, "I would never do that," and then they confront you?
I don't know if that's ever happened, but I think my husband, the first time he read the manuscript, he was just like, why did you kill me? And I was like, A, not dead. B, that's not you. Like,
Yeah.
you know, sure, parts of it, especially the love story, is very much based on my experience with my husband. We met very young, we married very young, and we are soulmates. You know, that's how I feel. Like, we have this undeniable connection, even when times have been difficult and our marriage has been strained. There is just some force that, you know,
Keeps getting
makes
you
us,
together, huh?
yeah, keeps us
Yeah.
together. And I wrote very much that is what keeps the two people in this story together. So
Right.
sure, that part is, you know, true.
How did you get into writing science fiction then?
You know, I think, well, we had discussed prior that my first writing assignment was in sixth grade with Mrs. Michaels. And
Okay.
I just wrote about time travel. And since I read the book, The Time Machine, I've been kind of obsessed.
Mhm.
And I think it was really a healing tool for me as well, because my dad had just passed and I was dealing with that grief. And I had these moments almost every single day of like, oh, if I could only go back. Oh, I should have done, or oh, that moment with my dad. And
Yeah.
so I think that really drove the project of all the times in life where we wish we could change something, or do we? You know, I ask those questions even in the series of like these choices that Anna makes in the first book, especially, they have consequences. And you see
Mhm.
that in the book, you know, second book. So, and they carry over to the third. And, you know, it's generational. So my choices affect me, but they also affect my children and my spouse and my friends. So all those questions are kind of thrown all together, hopefully in a really good story.
Right? So what's your concept of time travel? There's so many different types of time travel. You know, you can go back and meet yourself, or you can't go back and meet yourself. You can meet your grandfather, and if you do, things go bad, those sorts of things. Like, so
Right.
what's your concept of time travel?
I love that you asked this, because once I gave my neighbor as a gift my books, and she saw me walking my dog and she stopped me. She's like, I never knew time travel could work that way. And I was like, it does.
Yeah, it does.
That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So, no, you can't go back and meet yourself in time in my books.
Okay.
And it's basically a mix between a space travel adventure and a mystical experience. So in my books, I have what I call guardians of the decades. And for some reason, decades are really significant to me in my own life. And so I have these people who are in charge who
Hmm.
kind of guard the decades. And so you're not supposed to be time traveling and they protect you for a reason. But for some reason, Anna is aided by her guardian to successfully accomplish this mission. And she's not the only one. There are others who are involved in hopefully saving the world from its destruction if we, tax the planet too much. So
Yeah.
it's got all the big questions in life.
Yeah, it's one of those things I'm going to have to read because I love time travel stories. By the way, I think you might have hit your microphone because we can hardly
Okay.
hear you right now. Um, there, it's gone. Nope.
Is it good?
It's good except for the.
Oh no. Oh no. Here, I'm going to screw it in a little tighter.
There you go. Nope.
We're good? No.
Just jiggle it a little bit,
Okay.
and
I need to
you're
find a
good.
better plan. We're
Let it
good?
go. Let it go. Let it go.
How's that?
Nope.
No.
Well, we can deal
Here.
with it.
Are we good?
Right there's good.
Okay, I'm just gonna hold it. It's fine.
Okay. It looks like I'm holding an ice cream cone. So. So if you could time travel yourself, would you? Like, would you do anything?
Wow. No one has ever asked me this question. I don't think so.
No?
I don't think so.
Nothing you want to change or go back and see or people you want to meet? Nothing like that?
I think yes to all of that. I would love to, but like I said in my own stories that I've written, there are never big enough incentives to be okay with the consequences that follow.
Mm,
Yeah, so I think life is complicated, and part of me believes that it's all just supposed to be the way it is, even though I, choose not to have gone through certain things that I've gone through in my own past. If I were to, like choose from the beginning, but now that I'm here, some part of me was just like, oh, this is the story that I was meant to live.
yeah. So you're not one of the people who would go says, if I could go back, I would not be in the cult. I would just, I like who I am. I like the way I came out.
Oh gosh, that's a tricky one too. I think that if I could go back, I would choose not to. But I think I've made so much peace with the fact that I cannot. And so I'm really happy with,
Yeah.
where I
But
am.
you kind of can because you're a writer. You can do anything you want.
Yeah.
So I've often thought about would I go back and change anything, and I think I'm pretty much like you. I don't know that I would change anything. I don't know if that's because I would be afraid to, or I wouldn't be who I am now. So
Yeah, see, that's where I don't know where the distinction is, right? Where do I begin and the experiences I've had end? Like, I think it all is almost the
it's
same.
you, right?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Um, I don't know. There was one thing you brought up a little while ago too. That was, and we talked about this before, and that was your superstition that you had about not wanting to start writing some of the things that you did, not knowing because you didn't want anyone else to maybe die.
Yeah, I don't
Right?
know. There was something about it because I had just lost my dad and I was grieving that loss. And he was a prolific writer and I was intimidated. And then I was like, well, what if someone dies because,
Right?
this person goes missing? And in my story, like the story that was developing in my head. And yeah, it just was a lot of, I don't live my life superstitiously. Like I don't have weird rituals or anything that I do,
You don't
but
have
at the
any.
same time, I have these. I do. I do wonder what it all is about, right? Like,
Hmm.
I don't
Well,
know.
if you could time travel, you
I
could figure
know.
those
Maybe I
things
could
out.
figure it out.
Yeah, I think one of the cool things about your story also is that you had the, I'm gonna call it either guts or wherewithal or forethought to like quit your corporate job and get into writing, right?
Yes.
And talk about that, because there's so many people that I talk to that go like, "Oh, I can't because of XYZ." But you did get out. How did you get out, and like what would you tell other people that want to get out and live their passion?
Yeah. So I guess I have to go back to my shout out because I was miserable in a job and I told my husband I want to quit and a steady paycheck is hard to give up. But he was very supportive
Yes.
and made it
Shout out
work, you
husband.
know. Yeah, shout out to the husband, right?
Yeah.
We had recently sold a vehicle and we had, some extra cash and I was like, I need to use that cash to invest and figure out how to do this publishing thing. And it wasn't a small amount. It was over $5,000.
Hmm.
And so he was just a trooper. And we actually invested while I was still working. So we did make a plan. I didn't just willy nilly go in and be like, bye, everybody. I'm out of here.
That's what I
um,
did.
oh, well, good for you. I did not have the guts to do that. And yeah, he's like, give me 6 months, we'll figure this out. And so I did. And I was very upfront with the boss and, worked toward my goal. And I did it. So it's exciting.
So what do you tell other people that want to like start living their dream? And everyone has the excuses. Well, I've got to pay for this and that, and either I've got kids, or my dog won't be able to eat. What do you tell
Yes.
them?
I think there's always a way. Um, and again, that, comes with having the support that you need and having the privilege to, apply for the support that you might need. So whatever step is right for you, believe that you can do it and find those steps, I think. And I wasn't like, I didn't just write a book and be like, everybody's going to love my stories and find them on the internet with
Hmm.
all of the other stuff that's on the internet. I made a plan. I had a business plan. I started ghostwriting. I wrote articles for people's, what do you call that? Geothermal heating and cooling for at least a year or so. So I did a lot of things that made me a writer and gave me an income and helped me towards my goal. And I pursued that and I invested in it. So even if I had to go into debt for that $5,000, I would have made that choice. And I
Gotcha.
think that, you get what you put into it and just keep going. Like I'm not going to lie to you, even today it's just like, am I ever going to get the movie deal I want to, or are we going to sell that script? Or, when you're in a creative field, there's not that consistency of, I know where my paycheck is coming from. There's
Hmm.
always an expectation that you should be creating something new. So at one point or another, your whole life is going to be successful. And it just doesn't work that way. You have to put the work in yourself. You have to find other avenues, which I have also done. I coach other people on how to self-publish as well. So it's been a journey of entrepreneurship as well as creativity.
I would say that between you and John, I have very little doubt that you're going to get your screenplay up, and you're going to go even further with the writing and the stuff that you guys are doing together. There's
Well, thank
no
you.
doubt.
From your lips to God's ears, I'm all about it. Let's do
Okay.
it.
So you also have a writing course. So you've written for other people, you've written your own books, you
Yes.
were looking to get screenplay, and you teach other people.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you teach, and how do they get
Sure. Yeah. So
knowledge?
I used to coach people individually, and that comes with a higher price tag. Plus, it takes a lot of my time. So what I did was I basically took people from A to Z and how to write a manuscript if they haven't finished a manuscript, what that process looks like, and then took them all the way through to self-publishing that, and marketing it for like their book launch. And instead of doing it one on one with a lot of coaching calls and taking away from my own time, I filmed videos and I put
Hmm.
them on my website. We have 3 courses on there now, so you can start at whatever level. If you've had the manuscript done already, the self-publishing course is perfect for you. So they're called the You Can series. You Can Write a Book is The first one, you can self publish, is the second one. And then you can make an impact, which really just takes you through the first year of your book launch, how to be consistent on social media and talk to the right people and get your book out into the world. So it's all now self-paced right on the website. You can do it at your leisure, and I love having that option for people.
That is cool.
Yeah, you can buy the lifetime access,
Mm-hmm.
or I don't remember the prices of the courses right now, or there's a subscription base too. So if like you're a go-getter and you only want to pay like 3 months of a subscription, you have access to all of it. Yeah, do it.
Is there a difference, like if someone's written, say, a series of poems or fiction or a how-to book, is the publishing process the same?
If you're choosing self-publishing, it really is. You have control yourself. And so Amazon is the platform that I use. I also use Ingram Sparks, which is the distributor for basically the rest of the world's publishing. And it just means that they're the aggregate for all the other, like small bookstores can order from them and Barnes and Nobles orders from them, right? So I show you basically how to set your books up on those platforms, so you have full control over what you're putting out there. Yeah.
Gotcha. What do you think is the best part about writing a book?
I mean, I guess it depends on what type of book I'm writing, because I've written like real life stuff and I've written fiction. For me, the fiction is just fun because I get to imagine, I get to put myself into scenes that seem exciting. And yeah, that's super fun to me. And words are just my love.
I love words. Are you one of the kids that used to read the dictionary?
Yes, I still do.
I do too.
I'm looking at it right now. My dad's old dictionary, and it's probably about 10 inches thick.
Yes.
And it's from the 1970s, and I still get the thing down. And I'm just like, I need new words in my life.
Yeah. You just find a word and then you go like, what does this lead to? I've read the dictionary for hours. I love reading the dictionary. Oh gosh. Shelly, we need people to be able to get in touch with you because you are amazing, and this writing thing and journey is something I think a lot of people need to do. So we can stay in touch with you through Instagram at Shelly Snow Pordea. And of course, people can find your course and more about you on your own website, Shelly Snow Pordea. And we're just I'm going to leave that up there so people can see it as we log out here. But thank you so much for being on. It's awesome.
Oh my goodness. Thank you. This has been so fun. It's a pleasure to know you. Thanks for the opportunity.
I'm going to get your course. And then as I'm going through it, I'm going to do all these things and I'm going to have you back on and we can talk about the journey.
Oh, awesome. Yes, let's do that. That's great.
We will definitely do that. All right. Thank you, everybody, for watching. We will see you in the future. Bye, everybody.